what is up, Arrowheads, and welcome to the Arrow Recap Show here on Collider Video. My name is Campea, and I'm so happy you are all able to join us today to talk about Season 4, Episode 7, appropriately titled Brotherhood. And also joining me are three of my brothers, starting with Mr. Josh Macuga to my right.
Hey guys. If you guys can tell, I got a mustache just underneath the hood here. Kind of a big deal. I'm also Diggle's other brother. So no big deal.
And also joining me is Mr. Michael Medina.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm excited to talk about tonight's episode. I, too, am one of Diggle's lost brothers.
And last but not least, Diggle's third brother, Mr. Jason Inman.
Yes, ready Diggle. I'm ready to talk about the show in the light of the show and not the dark of the show, which would be behind the set.
Heyo. And I am also Diggle's brother, the fourth brother. Again, we're talking about Season 4, Episode 7, Brotherhood, and we are going to give you our overall impressions of tonight's episode, as well as give you our positives, negatives, go into your Twitter questions, as well as give our predictions for next week's episode. So it's that easy, and thank you guys so much for joining us. If you want to join in on the conversation, go ahead and tweet us at #ColliderArrow, as well as after we post this video, leave your comments in the comment section of this video and make sure to subscribe to Collider Video. So with that being said, let's go into our overall impressions of tonight's episode. I want to start because I want to say that I feel like David Ramsey, aka Diggle, deserves an Oscar for tonight's performance. I personally feel like he acted his ass off, so I did enjoy this episode. I thought it was a very good episode before we get to the episode, before we kind of break for the winter break. So for me, I enjoyed the episode. I thought it was solid. Josh, what about you?
Yeah, I think I really didn't think I was going to like this episode because I feel like every episode of Arrow somehow is tied to like a Diggle family something, right? Like he's always been like, I got my brother and then my wife and then my daughter. And I thought this was going to be like, yeah, I got to get to my brother. But he really killed this. I really enjoyed the whole tracking down of the brother. I loved all the Hive fights. I thought that, it wasn't the best episode of the season, but there was some great action in this episode. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, Michael?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Diggle was great in this episode. He had a great scene with Oliver. I liked the episode. It did a good job of moving the plot along with Oliver's run for mayor, and it had an amazing fight scene towards the end that was so much fun. Some of the best fight choreography I think I've ever seen on the show.
Nice. Jason?
I think it was the best fight scene of the season so far. Because, and also that also got me so excited for our next episode, which is the Legends of Tomorrow setup. Like, think of all the heroes we had tonight. Think of all the people. They were basically fighting a 55-man army, and I think they pulled it off.
Avengers style.
They really, really did pull it off. Yeah, and when Ray came in, it was almost like when the Hulk showed up, you were just like, oh, Ray! Yeah! And like, I never thought I'd say that about Ray.
Completely
And you know
agree.
me, I've been the foremost detractor of the Ray camp. And I was very pleasantly surprised with not only Ray's performance, just plain acting, although when he walks into Felicity's apartment, he's like, what are you going to do? I was like, well, you're walking around town without your... but then when he shows up at the end.
Yeah, he looked good, too.
I'm on Team Ray now.
Got some serious fighting skills in there.
Yeah.
I don't know where we developed those from, but yeah, I love it.
Hey, when you're trapped in a glass box for over 7-8 months, you got to do something.
Yep.
And apparently he had internet access.
So he just studied on like some taekwondo.
He's like, all those how-to videos that I always wanted to watch, here's the time.
So let's go further into our positives then, because you guys brought up a good point with Ray. I think one thing that this season has done right is that I will admit, I was afraid that this season would be spent kind of detracting us as Arrow fans, building up to Legends of Tomorrow. And I felt like I would be distracted as a fan that the fact that this show's focus would be on making Legends of Tomorrow something that we would want to watch. But I haven't been distracted by the fact that they've been using Arrow as a catalyst for that. I actually like the fact that they are kind of subtly integrating, Ray coming back, Sarah coming alive again. And it hasn't really detracted me from the fact that we are continuing to watch our favorite show, Arrow, and that, Oliver continues to lead the crew. And we have this bigger and badder squad, with Ray joining in this fight in this week's episode, Laurel joining and kind of smoothly integrating into the squad. So I am happy that it hasn't detracted me as a viewer. I don't know how you guys feel about it. I do like the fact that they are using Arrow as a catalyst to launch Legends of Tomorrow, and the same thing can be said for how they use Arrow to launch Flash. And that's a testament to how good this show is. So do you guys have any thoughts on that?
I love it. I actually think they're doing it just enough. Like we get a nice little Legends of Tomorrow nugget like every little episode. Like this was like we're setting up Ray again for why he's not going to come back from the dead. Like they could have done it too much. Like where we're like, God, is this the Legends of Tomorrow setup show? But I think they're doing it just enough. And I thought this episode was a very nice turn in the mythology of Arrow, because there was that scene where Diggle and Stephen Amell, Oliver Queen, as he's known on the show. I don't know why I call him Stephen Amell. But very much like the first season again, where Diggle is schooling him on how they should do things. And Diggle says this line. He's like, guys, and I wrote this down. He guys, we need to take this guy down in the day of light. No more shadows. And season 1, all about the shadows. Now, I was a little worried when he wanted to call himself Green Arrow, but like, I feel this episode was the step. We finally crossed the line. This is a superhero show now. This is not a vigilante show. This is a superhero show.
I agree, and like I said before, with season 3, which is a bit of a mess, the story, it was a little all over the place. I think this season they're a lot more focused, and like you said, they're not oversaturating the show with Legends of Tomorrow. They're giving you just enough. Like, I'm excited for Legends of Tomorrow. Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't know why I doubted myself. I'm even
Doubt
more
yourself, Michael. Fail this show.
Failed this city. I'm even more excited for the show now because again, they're doing it right. And I'm on board.
I agree with all of you guys here, because I guess I was probably the most in the dark, no pun intended.
No Damien Darhk.
No Damien Darhk, about the Legends of Tomorrow on purpose, because I didn't really want to know a lot about it. I wanted to be kind of surprised by what they were doing, and I know some people out there don't like that. But this, I thought that it was just going to be so many crossovers and all this stuff, and there's all these eggs. But this really feels just like Arrow. It feels like it's it's Arrow, and the team is there, and we've really got some awesome stuff these first 8 episodes, to the point where we're not disappointed like we were kind of last year at this point. And this might have been Laurel's best episode.
I kind of agree.
I rarely give her compliments. Okay, I rarely give her compliments, but this may have been Laurel's best episode.
Again, she looked great in that fight scene. Looked amazing. And I know I've said this before, where I think Arrow has found that sweet spot. They're not trying to be like Flash. It still feels like Arrow, but it definitely is a lot lighter. The tone's a lot lighter, but not too light. It's perfect.
And not only did we have a very good brotherhood moment between Diggle and Oliver, but we had a good moment between Felicity and Oliver. And you really start to understand who Oliver, kind of gets his motivation from, and who he gets those pep talks from, and who drives him to be the Oliver Queen that he is today, which is very much different than the Oliver Queen we were introduced to in season 1.
Yeah, because this is finally Oliver, I feel, the Oliver Queen we see in public is finally a real person. Like, he's not Bruce Wayne anymore. Like, because the first 3 seasons, like, Oliver Queen was just a throwaway. Like, he was really Arrow. That's who he really was. But now I kind of feel that, like, no, he's both now. Like Oliver Queen and Green Arrow are one and the same, and they're just, one has a mask and one doesn't.
In a lot of TV shows where you're centered around a dual personality, like a Tony Soprano kind of thing, or something like that, there was very little growth in the character. And I think in this show we've seen a ton of growth. A lot of times with the dual personality, there's a lot more of a decrescendo than a crescendo, and you're starting to really fall in love with not only Green Arrow, but you're falling in love with Oliver Queen, because he's actually doing something, like you said, in the light of day.
Well, like you said, he was kind of like very much a Bruce Wayne, and let's be honest, you don't really like Bruce Wayne that much, because he's basically this playboy. I mean, what's really to like about him? And that's what he was. He was very much a throwaway character.
His cars?
Well, nice cars, nice women. But that's about it. I mean, he's not supposed to be a nice guy. That's what throws people off the scent. But you're right about that. Now it's like you really can root for Oliver and what he stands for. And I'm enjoying Oliver way more than just being Oliver, than just like Arrow. It's great.
And to be honest, right now, Michael Medina looks like he could join Hive. He's got the denim, he's got the hat, little pulled back. Give him the drug.
And that brings us right into what I thought was one of the best scenes. Okay, there was one minor nitpick about it, but one of the best scenes was the Hive recruitment scene where Neil McDonough, Damien Darhk, walked down there and was like, "Look, you're gonna take these pills because I can't trust you enough." And then my only problem with that scene was one guy looks over and goes, "Hey, look!" And and Oliver Queen, this expert ninja, is just like, "Huh?"
We're not up here, guys. Look away.
You know what's funny about that? So when Lance found the little sheet of paper that said, I guess, where they were going to be at or whatever.
52, by the way.
Yes,
wink.
I really thought that Damien Darhk left that there intentionally to see if Lance was like a mole. I really thought that, but then we didn't get to see Lance again, and so I thought, so
You could still
that would have
be
been
right.
cool. Yeah, I might be. Who knows?
Lance, very small part. I know you get upset about when there's little Lance in the show. So,
Go down there and take care of him. Slip 52. That's all I'm saying. Good speech. You might be a good mayor. I'm just saying.
He maybe had one scene. So let's go back to your point about the ghosts, though, because what do you guys think about them? I know somebody, I don't remember who on the panel described them as the foot soldiers from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I also think they are trained by the stormtroopers because they can't shoot for crap.
they're terrible.
But I do like the idea that they are normal people who kind of just think they want to do something better for, kind of that whole Ra's al Ghul mentality where we have to cleanse the city to like make it better kind of thing. But Damien Darhk's kind of going down the same path and trying to teach these guys
I
this.
got the impression from that scene that these were just like dudes that have been out of work for a long time, where we're just like, I'll take any kind of paycheck. What, kill little girls?
Right.
Done.
Well, Joe, Dark quick.
Hey, it's Hive. You working for Damien Darhk, man?
That's true. No,
One of them bear hugged a little girl. Come on.
I like that though, because I feel like a lot of times when you said like with the Foot Clan or like with stormtroopers, you wonder what's their motivation. Why are these guys soldiers? They're just supposed to be just fodder for like the superheroes to kill or do whatever. So the fact that there's a little bit more, somewhat of a backstory as to why they would do something like this, I like that.
Why do most gang members join gangs? Things of that nature. They're at a low point in their life, and they're giving like an opportunity to do something that they think is going to be okay, and they're welcomed into a family. And Damien Darhk's like, take this drug, and you're going to be great with us. Like, it doesn't seem too bad. Let's do it. And then
You're gonna have an awesome face mask.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So I want to give you guys a choice then. So yellow pill or Mirakuru shot. Josh.
I don't know. Mirakuru sounds like a ton of fun.
Yeah, I want that super strength.
Mirakuru.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of think so too.
I mean, the yellow pill just makes you kneel.
Yeah.
That's
And bear
really all
hug
it
little
was.
girls.
Yeah. All right. So let's go into what the focus of this episode was. Was really, for me, was, the Brotherhood. Diggle finding out that Andy's still alive and kind of trying to cope with that. I had some thoughts on it, but I wanted to start with you guys. Michael, what did you think about Diggle discovering that Andy's still alive?
See, now that was my biggest issue with this episode. Diggle's been obsessed with wanting to find his brother and who killed his brother when he discovered this dead shot and everything. So the fact that when Diggle discovered this and saw that his brother was alive, but was so quick to just be like, he's dead to me. I'm done with him. I was like, really? You're not even gonna? There was no remorse. There was nothing, no conflict within. Like, well, he's still my brother. He was like, everybody else around him felt that way, but he would just shut his brother off like that. I just didn't believe that.
Yeah, it was really bizarre to me because Diggle tends to do that quite a bit, though, and I think we all agreed on that. Is that he turns very quickly. He even turned on Oliver so fast too.
Last season, yeah.
You don't cross Diggle. The dude he's got one note, and you don't play against him. I understand. Like, I really enjoyed the scene with he and Laurel at the mayor ball at the bar. It was really nice. But then at the end, when he kind of freaks out in the jail cell, I didn't love that scene. I don't know. There was a lot of good that Diggle did in this one. And there was a lot of like, I didn't love it.
The title of this episode is Brotherhood, and I we saw the previews for last week, and we knew Diggle's brother was coming back, which somebody on the line, by the way, thought I spoiled it on this show, and it's like, no, it's in the commercial. But we thought that's what this episode was going to be about. Yeah. But we get to the end, and we realize that no, this episode's not about Diggle and Andy. Yeah. This episode's about Oliver and Diggle reaffirming their brotherhood together. Yeah. And I thought that was really cool. But I do agree with you. Diggle was flip-floppy.
Yeah.
But also it doesn't help when the actor that plays his brother plays Andy Diggle like a Bond villain because he like read the file and he's like, yes, it was me. And you're like, what was that choice?
He's got the eye, like you can tell.
He does the weird stink scary eye.
Like neither of them had the reaction that I was expecting. Whatsoever. I mean, we as viewers have spent 4 seasons waiting to see if Andy was alive or not, or thinking he was dead this whole time.
I actually never thought he was alive.
Nobody cared about him.
Yeah.
And then Diggle didn't seem to really care. He already had this, perception of his brother. And then Andy was just like, okay, yeah, I'm alive and I'm a part
I did
of
it
HIVE.
all.
Thanks.
For the money.
It was a little underwhelming to me.
That's my official Andy Diggle impression.
That's pretty good. You're getting there.
But to Josh's point, I really did enjoy that Laurel was the one that kind of talked sense into Diggle. Like, hey, you're kind of being crazy. I know how it feels to find out that your sibling is still alive. I sympathize with you. And, I got it. She was the only one that really could have that speech
And
with
I
him.
agree with you. Laurel's best scene this entire season.
Yeah, without a doubt. And at the beginning of the episode, when stuff's about to go down and she's the one that breaks everything up with the canary cry, that was cool. I'm telling you, I'm on Team Laurel this episode. Just this episode.
You're on the Laurel locomotive.
Yeah, put it in there.
She's a character that needs some time, just some time to develop, spend some time with her, have her grow. And I don't know. I mean, I agree with you guys. She was really good in this episode.
Yeah.
And consistency too. Like if she will always be, that kind of crutch for people, then fine. But she kind of has her ups and downs. But this episode, I agree, was a high for her. Let's talk a little bit about. I had a question for you guys, and I asked it before we started, and I want to hear it on the show now. Dark says to Lance, and kind of transitioning from Laurel, "What is worse than your daughter dying?" is what I kind of wrote down, because he threatens Lance. He says, I have something worse that I can do to you rather than your daughter dying. So what is that for Lance, though?
Him dying?
Is it?
Well, that would be pretty selfish, I guess.
I don't know, because his personality, I feel like that's not it.
I'm going on a crazy limb. We've seen Damien Darhk, touch people.
Yeah.
Sorry, Michael. You won't die from this.
I'm good.
So he touches people and sucks out their, life essence. Would that kill you? Maybe that doesn't kill you. Maybe that turns you into bloodthirsty, like Sarah.
Zombie-like, maybe?
Yeah, like we saw Sarah. Maybe that's a connection, and maybe that's the reason why we spent a whole episode with Sarah being like that, because that's gonna be Lance, and maybe the daughters have to put their daddy down.
Oh,
Dark. This is the Dark episode. Yep.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I dig that.
What? Yeah, there you go. That's my crazy prediction for this week.
Take a walk. Just drop the mic, Jason. Jason Inman, everybody. You can find him on Twitter and Instagram. I like that quote a lot. Like, what's there something worse? That maybe he doesn't. So killing his daughters, obviously that isn't. It's more so like taking away everything that is good for Lance. So not only his department, so his job, his daughters, and make him just look like the enemy. Because that's really the pawn he has right now. That's the move he has, is because he's been working with Dark. So Dark's like, listen, dude, you cross me one more time, I'm going to go to the press and tell them that Lance has been working with some sort of criminal organization. I found all this out, make him look like the good guy, because Dark can spin in just about anything, it seems like. And then he loses everything.
I agree. I think, but I definitely agree with the whole daughter angle, like sucking her life essence or whatever. Because, I mean, he loves his kids. We've seen how much he loves both of his daughters. And so to see them walk around almost like these lifeless zombies, that they're shells of them for themselves. Look how he reacted when he saw Sarah, when she was all tied up, when she came out of the Lazarus pit, and how that broke him down. Now, imagine if there was no coming back from that. There was no Lazarus pit to bring them back. I mean, I would imagine that would devastate him.
I don't know, but what does Lance love more than his daughters?
I mean, there's
whiskey.
He loves the hooch.
Yep.
So perhaps
Maybe.
Damien Darhk is going to get rid of all the alcohol in the world.
Donna.
Or Mama Smoke, which we didn't see this episode.
We did not.
Yeah,
They were
I
knocking
think Jason
them
pointed
boots.
that out.
Yeah.
I do.
And also,
that's in my negatives, though.
Mama Lance is in Central City. That's been mentioned several times.
That's right.
She's still around.
Yeah.
That's right. So we'll see. You guys let us know what your predictions are for that, because I am curious. And for me, last but not least, for positives of this episode, John Barrowman was in this episode.
Yeah, you love JB.
He's my favorite.
He was
Daddy of the year.
Okay, listen.
Daddy of
Yeah. Okay. Maybe feeding your daughter's bloodlust to actual human beings is a bad idea. Okay. But there's something to be said about the fact that he knows that there isn't much you can do to the bloodlust until she mentions Dark. So feeding her bad guys that deserve to die isn't a bad thing. And I know I'm sounding like an absolute idiot here, but it's really, he's really looking out for his daughter, and I kind of appreciate that.
Well, that makes sense, but at the same time, obviously, it goes against everything Thea stands for and what she's tried to do. What I liked was how she brought up the whole Damien Darhk thing, not being able to affect her, and how it, I guess, in turn affected him. And I loved his reaction when she would mention Damien Darhk, how you could see he was scared shitless.
Yeah.
But then as soon as she told him that, it had no effect on her, you could see the wheels turning. He's like, oh, because again, this is, Malcolm. He's the type of person, like, even though that's his daughter, he will completely exploit her for his own well-being.
Yeah.
So I could already see him, like, plotting and scheming how he could maybe take down Dark with Thea's help. And maybe she ends up in the grave. I don't know.
I don't know.
Because of it.
But the guy that Malcolm this is before we get out of the good. The guy that Malcolm suggested, his name was Lawrence Tanner, and Lawrence Tanner is a minor DC Comics character in a 1998 issue of Legends of the DC Universe. It's a Superman Lex Luthor story. This episode, by the way, had a lot of good DC Easter eggs. You remember at the beginning, Oliver was like, "I want to fix the docks," and they were like, "Oh, that's a hippie program."
Yeah.
That's a reference to Green Arrow being a social crusader, because he would also beat up the corporations and call them fat cats.
See, and that's the thing. I always thought going into the show, I always thought that was the Oliver we were gonna get.
I think we're there.
Screw the man.
Yes, I think we're there.
Maybe.
And then also there was the big one, Wolfman biologist. How do you say that? Biologist? What was the name?
Biochemist?
Or something like that. That's a reference to Marv Wolfman, who's a very famous DC comic writer who wrote Crisis on Infinite Earths.
One of my
that's so
all-time
cool.
favorite books.
Yeah,
I love Crisis.
Yeah.
Very cool. For me, I just love seeing John Barrowman in any scene. I think he, like I said, he is Daddy of the Year. I like that he continues to be consistent in his protection of Thea. In some really odd way, he loves Thea very much, and even if it is handing over names of guys that she should kill to, kind of survive.
I was also I thought he would come into the last fight scene. I really did. I thought we'd see him there.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We
I
will
thought
see
he
him
was-
next week.
Yeah. But I thought, man, when they were fighting everybody and Ray came in, I was like, wow, I thought it would definitely be
Man, that
Malcolm.
would have put it over the top.
Yeah.
Man, that would have, crazy.
Because he knows about Dark, obviously.
Yeah.
He was also cool and all that stuff. And if he were to come in and that's when Damien touches Thea and Malcolm's right there, and then they all know, I think that would have been a lot more dynamic than Thea, he coming in and be like, come on in, Dad.
I think we'll see something like that in the future, because I think you are right. Malcolm, I think now that he knows this, will make Thea his weapon against Damien Darhk.
Oh, yeah.
Like he'll be like,
yeah.
I'm gonna train you to
Yeah.
be good enough to fight that guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's going to be cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm so excited to see that. Okay, so not every show is perfect. So we will go into some negatives for the show. I think we all have a few. For me, I would say flashbacks were a little weak this episode. I feel like they didn't really progress anything in terms of what I've watched. You guys let me know if you saw something different.
Well, there was one cool thing in the flashbacks. Oliver got Constantine's map from the Constantine episode. That's Constantine's map. So I like that the season's going to be about Constantine's map. But I agree with you. Besides the hillbilly getting whipped, I mean, what are they doing with this flashback?
I
It
don't
was
know.
every flashback, I don't know, I didn't time them, but none of them seemed over a minute.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they were
Really
super
short.
quick.
Which, you know what, I'm actually okay with, because I feel like season 3's
That's fine.
flashbacks were whatever.
Yeah.
This season's are a little better, but they just don't compare to seasons
The
1
city,
or 2.
the city stuff is more important.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Agreed.
Yeah, exactly.
It seemed like it was the writers would write the episode and they're like, "There's no flashbacks." Like, oh crap, just throw in a couple minutes here and there.
Yeah.
and that's what these flashbacks felt like.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Any other negatives from you guys?
I mean, my negative already was Diggle. That was my biggest negative. I mean, I liked the episode, but the whole Diggle thing, just being so quick to be like, my brothers, whatever.
I mean, a big negative I had was that we got to see a Thea growling scene.
Oh yeah,
Forgot about that.
Thea on the date, and she's with Alex, the campaign manager, and she goes into a bloodlust, and she starts punching him, and then when she turns around to Alex, she's like,
Animalistic rage.
like, what are you doing? And by the way, I want to put this out to the panel.
Yeah.
We sort of bandied this about during the episode. Thea has a tendency to date people that betrayed the team.
Yeah.
Is Alex part of Damien Darhk's
Yes.
team? I think so.
I agree.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah.
As soon as you said that, and while we were watching the episode, and then his phone rings, I thought it was gonna cut and be like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, you're gonna have to do. And I was like, it's dark. It's definitely dark.
Do you want me to make you cupcakes?
Yeah. There was something about that whole scene that I just didn't like.
Yeah.
They were in some weird bar that looked like a reject stage from Cocktail.
I actually, to be honest with you, I think it was the side corner of Jitters from Flash.
It looks similar.
Because if you look at that shot where she's at, like I think they took the counter from Jitters and just made sure that they didn't show the sign and then put a refrigerator there.
Yeah.
That's funny.
And then they're like sitting there and he's like, I got to take this call. And it didn't seem like more than 2 seconds that dude came over and he was like, hey, hun.
Yeah.
And, you know, in that classic like 50s creepy guy with the double chin and the
Come on,
beard.
baby.
And the weird
Babe.
mustache.
Even though you say even though you say no, I know you mean yes.
Yeah. With the mustache. Yep.
Anyway, yes, I think that the campaign manager is evil.
We're not even on your shot, Josh. We're not on your shot.
I know, but I don't care. It's right here, guys.
No, when we got introduced to Alex, I immediately thought it's the DJ point two, like 2.0. Like it's the
yeah.
DJ all
2.2.
over again.
It's
You know?
the remix.
Yeah. So I agree. I think we're not. There's something else to
But
that
I think
guy.
he's going to serve a much bigger
They don't
purpose
bring
than the
in
DJ
a
did last
guy.
season.
They don't bring in a guy for multiple episodes in the show without some sort of end
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other negatives?
Like I said before we even started rolling, I thought this episode was super serviceable. I don't want to say it was like an amazing episode, but I enjoyed pretty much all of it. There wasn't many scenes where I was like, ugh.
No,
I agree with you. I think the normal scenes that weren't between Oliver and Diggle, I felt were the weak scenes. Like any scene that Oliver and Diggle got together, like because I loved Oliver just being like, "We're gonna get the one guy. No one's getting left behind. We're gonna get the one guy." And then I thought the action scenes, the beginning and the end, like for me, put this over from being like what I would say like a not so good episode to like a really good episode.
Yeah.
Not a great, not the best of the season, but like really good.
I agree, and like I remember like the last couple weeks they've been focusing a lot on kind of going OG now with like the original Team Arrow with Diggle and Oliver. So I like that they're still kind of bonding and getting closer again, kind of going to throwback with these guys like when they went on that mission to go, you know, get Andy, even though it just ended horribly for them. But still, the fact that they're working together, I love seeing those two.
Yeah.
Yeah, and congratulations to James Bamford, who Jason pointed out, believe directed this episode.
He's been the stunt coordinator, the fight coordinator for the last 4 seasons, and I think this is his first episode he's directed.
Awesome.
Very cool.
So-
He did great.
Well,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
the action scenes were fantastic.
No, I could be wrong on that. I don't know everything DC.
Jason, get your head together. You know everything.
I can
DC.
Google it.
We really like thinking around here. Okay, so let's get to the Twitter questions. We do have a few that we pulled. First one's from Chris, who asked, do you think Damien Darhk will run against Oliver for mayor of Star City? Battling Darhk on 2 fronts would be exciting.
Absolutely.
Michael?
Absolutely. I mean, because the whole thing with Diggle talking about fighting him in daylight, and because let's be honest, like he's not running against anyone.
Yeah, he said he's unopposed.
Yeah, exactly.
Kinda nice.
And so, I mean, it would make sense too if we're talking about seeing a different side of Oliver, one that's embracing the light. This would be the way to do it, you know. So that would be exciting. That would be on 2 fronts. I'm sold. That's
Do we
what
think we'll get a debate episode?
I think we will.
As a fan of The West Wing, I'm excited about it.
I would love it too.
Chris, he's a big fan of the show, and he writes a lot of great things on a couple
awesome.
different websites.
Yay.
So he's a great dude. I really appreciate that question because this takes us back into like some Batman stuff.
Okay.
Right, where we're gonna see not only we're gonna see Green Arrow fight him, we're gonna see like actual human being fighting. With verbosity and political repartee, right? I like that. I like that aspect of it. And like you said, West Wing kind of thing. I like where they might go with, you know, like some sort of real world stuff instead of vigilante justice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Me
big
too.
fan of that.
Be a
I'm
fun little spin.
Yeah.
I'm a big nerd, and obviously for you guys that are paying attention, we are in a political year.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice for the show to kind of coincide with the fact that we are going through some debates for us outside of Arrow. So
That also would lead up to that thing that I've said before, where I think how great it would be if Darhk is like, well, I know you're Green Arrow, and if you don't reveal your, you know, if you don't work for me, I'm going to tell everybody. And Oliver's just like,
Yeah.
so what? I'm mayor of the city. Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
If Damien Darhk beats Oliver in a debate, I don't know who I would vote for. I'm sorry. I'm
Not
sorry.
knowing all the facts.
Especially if Oliver's just like 5 years on an island, the cards. Oh,
It's that damn campaign manager, Alex.
They throw in some random campaign guy from the city who's like Donald Trump, and he's like, I could come in here and beat everybody.
All right, next question. Comes from a duel who asks, Dark's talk with Speedy was exciting. Will he discover she is Thea and thus Oliver is Arrow, using that info as blackmail?
You kind of
No, I sort of touched on
Jason?
that, and that's a great question. But I think there's a piece of bigger blackmail out there on Oliver, more so than his identity, and it is a Easter egg nugget that was dropped in the second season and has not been touched since. And that is that Oliver has a son.
Yeah.
Connor.
That's the blackmail. And they just announced that on Legends of Tomorrow, Connor Hawke, the son of Oliver Queen, will be in Legends of Tomorrow. So how awesome would it be that we see his son grown up and then the baby comes back into it again?
That's the ultimate political power play,
Yeah.
too. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, you've got that one giant skeleton in your closet. They play that real life, fake, TV movies, whatever. It's always that one big thing. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
How old do we think Connor's going to be? I mean, realistically, he should still be really little, but
10?
it's a TV show.
Well, we don't know because they showed it in a flashback in
Yeah.
season 2,
Yeah.
and we weren't certain how before him going to the island it was. I mean, I would guess it was maybe the year before, so Connor would be 5 at this point in the fourth
Yeah.
season.
Right, because it was while he was with Laurel.
Yes.
Correct?
Yeah. It was when he was Laurel, and
Yeah.
he doesn't even know about it. Moira
Right,
paid
'cause
him off.
Moira
So
paid him
5
off.
or 6 maybe.
Yeah, because I was just thinking, obviously this wouldn't be able to happen, but how cool would that be if he were a little bit older to where he could actually train, kind of like
Well,
what
I
we've
think
seen in
that's-
the.
I think we'll see that in Legends.
That's what
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
hoping
yeah.
for, because then for him to come back on Arrow, kind of like a Damien, you
He's
know what I
5 or
mean, Damien and
6.
Bruce, that'd be pretty
I
fun.
mean, I have a 6-year-old niece. I don't think she can fight crime. She's great. I love her. But
So is it confirmed that we will see Connor in Legends of Tomorrow first rather than Flash,
Now that-
where
that-
we think he
Well,
is
that I
in?
don't know, but they put out a press thing saying that Connor Hawke is going to be on Legends of Tomorrow. So
Interesting. All right. Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
All right. Next question comes from Sabat, who asks, will Thea's love interest turned out to be someone working with HIVE?
The DJ.
Last time she hired an assassin as DJ ...
Yep,
there
you go.
yeah. Great minds think alike.
There you go.
Great minds think alike. I mean, we all think he's dirty, right?
Yeah,
Gotta
He's
be.
all
Clearly.
dirty.
he looks dirty. Not like
He looks dirty. He doesn't pay.
No. He's a good-looking
Jim
dude who
Devo.
seems like he's like, listen, Oliver, you can't be friends with your friends that have gotten in trouble. No, he definitely there's some sort of ulterior motive with this guy, and it is yet to be seen. But we all are smelling it. You could smell it.
yeah.
from
Well,
a mile away.
let's go crazy out here. Let's say he
Drop it, Joe.
Yeah. Well,
Come
let's
on.
say he doesn't work for Damien Darhk. Who does he work for then? Let's say it's not Damien Darhk. Let's say he works for maybe the season 5 villain. Who would it be?
Or-
Let's go. Or Michael, throw out an idea.
I was thinking, why not Vandal Savage?
That's an interesting point. What if he works for Vandal
Exactly.
Savage?
Great way to
Guys,
tie into Legends.
Yep.
We know
Did you
he's
have
coming.
to bring up Vandal Savage?
Yep.
Do it.
You knew
Do
there was
it.
a
Don't
Savage
fail the
Garden
city.
reference coming.
What
Don't
about
fail the
Randy
city.
Savage?
Yeah, snap into a Slim Jim. Or
I
he could
hope
go
to
back
God in
and-
that crossover is Vandal Savage goes, oh yeah.
and in the background, some Savage Garden is playing. What could I would go back to like a Slade Wilson kind of a spinoff of he somehow worked with Slade Wilson or had some
interesting.
sort of tie to Slade Wilson, and that could come back.
Slade Wilson has 2 sons in the comic books.
Oh.
We haven't seen either of them. And he mentions one of them in season 2. He says Joey, which is
Right, he did.
who becomes Jericho, a Teen Titan in the comic books.
Yeah.
So, wow, if he's Joey, that's even better to me than him working for Damien Darhk.
Right.
If he's Joey, the son of Slade Wilson.
Right.
I'm going to go with he's working for Malcolm.
Oh.
Just because every time I think Malcolm has turned a leaf and he's like very good, daddy of the year, and then all of a sudden Malcolm is like, nope, I hired that guy to watch over you, Thea, and I also hired him to ruin Oliver's campaign.
You know what's great about all 4 of the things we said? I like all of them.
I like all of them. I like all the work.
I'm a fan.
Yes. All right. So let's go into our predictions then. Thank you guys so much for your questions. We saw a glimpse into next week's episode. So why don't we go with Jason in terms of what you think is going to happen?
Next week?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Crossover time.
This one's tough.
I think we're going to see Damien Darhk activate that stone thing that he had that looked like technology. I think you nailed it on the head. I think it is Thanagarian. I think it's going to tie into Hawkman. I think this is going to be the race. This is going to be the race for that piece of tech, and it seems like from the preview the race for Hawkgirl. I don't know. I think Vandal Savage will get away at the very end. I mean, I don't know. To me, I can't get a better prediction than I think Lance is going to become a zombie and Laurel's going to have to kill him. So.
I like that you posterize perfectly. And you're like, I don't know. Stick with it, man. You had it so good. You were so good.
All right, there you go.
Yeah.
I think we're going to get the reveal. I'm going to stick with Tim Tebow. With Alex, is it? Yeah. I think we are going to get an answer to that. I think we're going to discover who he's really working for, or at least get a hint in
next
this episode.
Week.
Yeah.
Oh, I think so. You're far in Vandal's camp then.
Yep.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well, guys, no. I think I think it's going to be more Flash centric. To be honest with you, of the crossovers with both teams, is that Zoom is going to come in to this somehow. If you guys are watching Flash, then you're definitely watching Arrow and vice versa. You should be, at least. That something's going to happen with Zoom, and he's going to be teaming up with Damien Darhk. Or there's some kind of mysticalism about that, because something happened to Zoom 2 episodes ago, and now Damien Darhk knows with Thea, and there's going to be a team up to somehow figure out a way. They're not going to defeat them yet, obviously, but a way towards defeating both bad guys and teaming up to do so.
Okay. I agree with Josh. I think it's going to be more Flash centric. I think the focus will be there, as well as building up for Legends of Tomorrow. A lot of us thought that we would see who's in the grave by next week's next week's episode, because for our information, I think we have a break next week for Thanksgiving, and then we have one more episode before we go into that very long mid-season break. So I feel like we will know who's in the grave by that episode.
Really? Wow. Okay. Ooh. Interesting.
And then we'll go into the break like ants in the pants.
I feel like we're breaking batting the grave. I think we're not going to know until the end of the season.
I think it's going to be the end of the season. But if they go by real time, because it said 6 months, I believe, in the first episode, that would be February.
Right.
Yeah.
Which was sweeps.
Yeah.
You know anything about television.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see if they wait, like I said, Breaking Bad, wait till the end of the season, or if they tell us in sweeps and then we get like 5 or 6 episodes to deal with the fallout.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess that's going to do it. You guys let us know what your predictions are for next week's episode, so next week's, as well as the crossover event that we're going to have with Flash. And let us know what you thought of tonight's episode. So that will do it for this week's episode of the Arrow Recap Show. I will flip it over to Josh to start with where people can follow him if they want to talk more.
Thanks, guys. You guys can just follow my mustache around town. You guys can donate to the campaign, Movember.com. My team is called Between the Stashes. You guys just follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Josh Macuga.
And Michael?
Guys, you can find me on Twitter at Mr. Michael Alexis, also on Instagram at Mr. Michael Alexis 14. That's Mr. Michael Alexis 14. And over with Mustache over here on the Collider Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. recap show.
Yep.
Jason?
I'm not following a mustache around, although I am in this.
Come on, Jawin.
You can find me on Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram at Jawin, Jawin, the first 2 letters of all 3 of my names. Figure it out.
And all the predictions that are correct are Jason's.
Zombieland.
You guys can follow me, Sans Mustache, and Campea on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can follow me on Snapchat at @Campea. You guys let us know what you thought of this week's episode. Tweet us at #ColliderArrow. Subscribe to Collider Video as well. And leave a comment under this week's episode with what you thought we were right and wrong about.
Josh and I always reply to them.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yep.
these two. We'll give you an answer. So until next week, please enjoy your holiday, and we will see you back on the first week of December for the episode 8 of Arrow. So until then, hood up.